Okay, patch 25.1.1. I was honestly expecting it to be patch 15.1, but hey, here we are. It's the Noxus themed brand new season. That's right, promised that League of Legends would change forever. Is that true? I'm not sure, okay? I don't really dig most. I like some of these changes, okay? And I am in favor of change. There's not actually that much change into it. I mean, there's a huge macro change in that regard, but the rest feels a little bit lackluster, to be honest. Okay, actually, I'm gonna open this in the side because I want to see TFT changes as well. But as you can see, the highlights, they're mostly going to change systems, some of adjustments, and a very small buff into Twitch JP that we will be seeing very soon, and a very badass skin line that will also drop within the teaser that I believe you guys just saw. This is pretty much warning that tier 1 leagues will head into fearless drafts. This is the how the map will look. A lot more Noxus themed, let's say. I quite like it a lot, but usually Riot does a really good job when it comes to designs. Cannot say the same about Victor, right? But let's say that this looks really cool, and it's a change to the usual Summoner's Rift as well. Okay, now the first epic monster, Atakhan. This is very interesting. Basically, let's begin with Herald. Usually, Herald used to spawn at 14 minutes, right? Now it's going to move into 16 minutes. Baron used to spawn at 20 minutes. Now, okay, this zero is terrible. Now it's going to spawn at 25 minutes. Now, Atakhan is going to be the buff that spawns at 20 minutes. This is the present, okay? So keep this in mind. When the plates fall at 14 minutes, that's not when Herald spawns. You can take the plates fully from a tower and then transition into base and have tempo to set up an objective into Herald, for example. Okay? Now, oh wait, I just noticed I wasn't showing, so my bad. The present is going to be Herald 16, Atakhan 20. I guess you guys can see this, right? Yeah, you can. And Baron 25. Okay, there we go. The zero is still bad though, but we take it. Um, so looking at this, we will have a pit, okay, and there will be two spawn points. It will be either top side or bot side. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it, okay. Now there will be two forms when it comes to Atakhan. So basically, the amount of champion damage and kills done in the game so far will also affect which of the two forms the demon takes on. In a higher action game, you'll see Rune as Atakhan, so basically more damage, more kills, stuff like that. The side of where it spawns, it's going to be reliant on this, okay? It can be top side, it can be bot side. There's no in between, it won't be mid lane. If you manage to take him down, your entire team will be permanently be granted to increase effects from all epic monster rewards, and you'll be a field of blood roses for anyone nearby to collect. These will give experience and also adaptive force, okay? Basically, they act as a minor but permanent bonus you can take for your own team and deny the enemy team. They grant your enemy XP and adaptive force buff. Blood roses can spawn before 20 minutes and do so around areas where champions have died or around Atakhan spawn location, in addition to as a reward for killing Runa's Atakhan. The other form, okay, now it gets interesting. This one is this one is pretty broken, okay? Voracious Atakhan is when there's less action in the game, okay? So basically, if there's less action in the game, Voracious Atakhan comes in, and now you basically get a free revive. This sounds crazy, right? Basically, you get a free revive, and you don't give the kill to the opponent. So just to make this clear to you, okay, similar to Guardian Angel, as they correctly say, you'll teleport back into base and permanently increase the gold from champion takedowns, which should help give teams an extra push to take that team fight. So basically, for each takedown, you're getting 40 bonus golds, okay? And if you would die, for example, for the next 150 seconds, which is 2 minutes and 30, if you would die in a team fight after you get the buff, instead you enter stasis for 2 seconds and then you head into base after 3.5 seconds. You only give 100 gold into the enemy, and if I'm not mistaken, a blood petal for their team. So let's imagine, let's imagine you dive the enemy nexus, okay, the enemy fountain, sorry, and your whole team dies, and you want to make a huge mess around the base. You want to take the upcoming wave, or whatever comes to your mind. You don't die, and you go into base. Let's imagine you have a really important team fight coming up, for example. You take that buff, you force the fight, you lose the fight, you have two TPs, those two TP users revive and get back into action with everyone low HP in the other side. That's broken, okay? I don't think this will stick around for too much, as I believe this is um, heavily worrying, as the rune as Atakhan is mostly going to emphasize snowballing essentially. You're going to be granted more epic monster rewards, basically more effects, 25% for every single one. So yeah, that will be quite worrying in my perspective. And I think this needs to be tweaked. I don't think, I'm pretty sure and certain these needs to be tweaked. Each pearl gives the player that picked it up 25 XP, increasing by up to 100% based on an KDA, and 1 to 0.33. Okay, so basically that is it. That is the most relevant part. Respawning Nexus turrets. I saw a lot of people overreacting to this, and while I believe 3 minutes is a really short timestamp, I do believe that this will not matter in most cases because, like, 1 in 100 games, maybe the turrets, maybe the Nexus won't fall after you get to Nexus turrets, but essentially, when you're taking the Nexus turrets, the odds that you finish the game are very, very high. So, even though this might happen in some games, as it will definitely, it won't be as recurring as it is. Even though I do believe that 3 minutes is fairly low, so it's rewarding for teams that can finish games, aka competitive. When it comes to solo queue teams, yeah, that's a different question. Feats of Strength. Basically, this is going to be one of the major changes because this is going to be a boot change, and there's also a Cassiopeia tweak since it doesn't have a boot setup. So basically, it replaces the gold bonuses from First Blood, First Turret, and it's going to be moved into that bonus boot feature that you can get for yourself. Now it's going to be basically whichever team first completes two of the three feats of strength, First Blood and First Turret, and Monster Slaying, wins the feats for that game and will have their Tier 2 boots upgraded to their triumphant versions. The feat winning team will also have the opportunity to upgrade their Tier 2 boots into Tier 3 by spending gold. This is obviously going to be a later part of the stage, uh, but there are two specific boots that are really broken. So yeah, they must have two legendary items, even though it's going to be later stages, obviously, right? Now, several goals for Feats of Strength, getting players in the early game to accomplish goals with their team. Yeah, because you're reliant on getting Monster Slaying or First Blood or First Turret. If you get First Blood and First Turret fairly soon, then you just get Feats of Strength fairly soon as well. Um, and basically, even if you have magical footwear and you upgrade into Tier 2, you still get the upgrade when you move into Tier 2. If you stick into Tier 1, you will not get the bonus, obviously. Alright? So basically, this is a nerf for Tier 1 boots, per se, and you really have to improve them at some stage, alright? So these are going to be the upgrades. This is for Berserker Grief, so 10% more attack speed, 5% movement speed, and upon attacking a champion, if you're melee, you gain 15% movement speed. If you're ranged, 10% movement speed, they gain over 2 seconds. 750 gold, by the way. Uh, okay, this is triggering my OCD. Why isn't there a G here? And why is there a G here when it says gold? I don't know. Anyways, Ionian Boots of Lucidity upgrade. It's going to give, upon damaging an enemy with a spell, using a smart spell or buffing an element spell, gain 10%, 8%. Okay, movement speed once again. So, movement speed is going to be a huge factor when it comes to boots. Once again, it emphasizes snowballing. Alright. First Blood, First Turret, or Monster Slaying. Sorcerer's Shoes upgrades. Plus 3 magic penetration, plus 5 movement speed, and 10% magic pen. That is insane. That is crazy, honestly. That is honestly crazy. If you're playing now, like before, if you were playing against a really bulky team, you would sometimes go into Mercury Treads or something else, or Ionian, for example, or Swifties, depending on which theme comp you have in the other side. And you'd really want the fact that you would emphasize Void Staff percentage and not the flat pen from your boots because you're against a bruiserish team. Now that Sorcerer's Shoes give 10% magic penetration in early stages, then if you do Void Staff plus Sorcerer's Shoes, it gives a much larger effect, right? So flattened percentage penetration in the same item for this amount of gold and movement speed, that's crazy. Armored Advance. After taking physical damage from a champion, gain a physical shield for plus 4% of your maximum health. I mean, tanks will take this. Same for Mercury Treads, but the magic resistance part. And now this is where it gets interesting. Plus 10 movement speed, boots of swiftness, by the way, and increase your total movement speed by 4%. This multiplies all of the forms of movement speed, and it's all multiplicative with everything. Okay, so this is crazy. Teleport movement speed, ghost movement speed, everything. Your itemization, enchanter movement speed, for example, a lot of stuff can be taken into consideration. Synchronized Souls upgrade, plus 10 movement speed, and while out of combat, I'm laughing because this is ridiculous. Increase your total movement speed by 10%. All I can think of, I'm sorry, I'm going to cough because I'm a bit sick. I apologize. All I can think about is Quinn taking these boots and speed running the map entirely with the synchronized souls. I think Cassiope is being done really dirty because all she's getting is 2 movement speed per level. Yeah, I mean, that's a movement speed for sure. Cassiope wants to be on top of you while sometimes going for rallies and granting that you're slowed, but in comparison to what everyone else is getting, this feels heavily underwhelming for Cassiopeia. Teleport, one of the biggest changes, goes into teleport as well. So basically, initial channel duration will move from 4 to 3 seconds. Okay? Travel type, blink. Instead of being a blink before, it's now going to be a dash. But there is a very misunderstood concept that is important to remember: intargetable and unstoppable. Alright? Total travel duration, instead of being flat for seconds, is going to be up to 8 seconds depending on travel distance, but the cap is 8 seconds. Travel speed is going to be 1000, but it will go faster if total travel time would take over 8 seconds, and cooldown is now going to be flat 5 minutes. Okay? Before Unleash Teleport. Unleash Teleport travel speed is now going to be a lot quicker, 4.5 100, and Unleash Teleport cooldown is now going to be unchanged. I said it's now going to be unchanged, so it's the same. Yeah, I'm fucking stupid. Unleash Teleport bonus movement speed is now going to be 1 more second in comparison to before. Lane minions. I'm going to make a really quick TLDR. Basically, the early game minions will push a lot faster. So if you're looking to build a slow push, it's now going to be a lot trickier. And this emphasizes Snowball a lot more because now minions will deal more damage to themselves because of these changes, basically. Alright? They will have less HP in the early game, more HP in the late game, and basically they will deal more damage to each other. Okay? 4% for range, 2% for melees, and then eventually it changes. One of the big changes as well are the first is going to be the first kind of minion. Instead of being the third wave, now it's going to be the fourth wave. All right. So be aware of that because now champions that want to roam and that want to be more proactive, minion waves will die a lot quicker. So be aware of invades, be aware of roams, be aware of deep warding as well. Be aware of a lot of stuff because this emphasizes a lot of roaming, which I'm a big fan of, but this is going to emphasize snowballing a lot for sure. Cannon minion HP and sorry, just to complement, less interaction in the lane because if the waves are going to be dealt with quicker, it means that you will have less windows to trade around. And slow pushes will be not happening as much. Basically, it's a lot harder to form that stack of waves. Miscellaneous rules, minute XP range is now going to be increased by 100. Minute turret and minute champion damage is now going to be 55. And now you start to get gold by 140. Turrets, basically a damage amplification. The turret is going to deal more damage, and the how can I say this? The effect, the turret shot, for example, like that projectile, is now going to be larger the more damage it deals, so it will be visually more appealing. Iteration is now going to be 5 seconds. If you don't know what's 5 seconds, basically after you stop getting damage from the turret, instead of 3 seconds after resetting the turret damage, it's now going to be 5 seconds. And yeah, turrets will deal more damage. Huge fan of this. I love this change. Fortification damage reduction is now going to be 50%, so lane swaps are definitely going to still be around. I'm a fan of it because it comes as a skill expression in a lot of ways. So lane swap is going to be even more reliable, more competitive, but I should expect to see it in solo queue. Solo queue should be putting more effort into it. I understand that it's more difficult because of no communication, but at the same time, it's not really that difficult. If you acknowledge your matchup is bad and you have a Sign top and you want Sign to soak all of the pressure and you want your weak side bot lane or strong side bot lane to bully the enemy top, then I mean it's self-explanatory, right? Champion bounties. Negative bounties no longer ignores the first minus 50 gold and kill assists. Burn one negative bounty goes from 4 to 5. Swift play being added, no one cares. Apex duo MMR restriction will be temporarily disabled as past season and will go back into the next patch. Also, 23rd of January, Meld is coming in this patch, right? That's it. Ashe, TLDR, she's going to be nerf damage in the early game, and they want to emphasize her crit build. Um, more attack speed, more DPS eventually. And damage, now you're going to say, oh, 20 to 60. That's a huge buff. Yeah, but it's 100% total into bonus AD. So pre-level 9, it's going to be... Pre-level 7 is going to be less, but as soon as you get your first item, it's going to be a buff, okay? It's going to be a sizable buff, to be honest. Kalista. Passive is going to be a lot healthier as far as they set. So basically, slowing champions will no longer affect Kalista as much. She will be more resistant and basically it will be a lot smoother to use her passive properly. She'll have more mana regen growth and her damage is being gutted. So Kalista will still be in a trash can. That's basically how I can put it. I don't really get why they would do this, by the way. It's really, it doesn't really make much sense to me. Twitch also doesn't really make much sense. Plus 1% slow per 100 AP. That's it. Yeah, sure. Varus is going to utilize a lot more mana. He has less mana, and he'll basically invest more mana. Um, yeah, it will run out of mana a lot quicker, despite Q initially being lower mana cost, basically. And also, on-hit damage is going to be lessened in the early game and increased in the later stages. Bloodletter's Curse. Basically, the arena item is coming into play, and this is an item for bruisers for AP bruisers such as Gwen. Swain can be an user, can be a Mordekaiser, can even be Cassiopeia, for example, if there's no heavy MR on the other side. And Rise if you go with the bruiserish build with Rod of Ages. If not, you can go Void Staff Rise with the Magic Panish builds to deal more damage. Otherwise, it's a good addition into the game, emphasizing obviously the bruiserish part of it because there's not much AP being added into it in comparison to the Void Staff that has 95 flat in comparison. Alright? Our steel changes, basically it's going to go from 18 plus 12% bonus health from items into 70 plus 3% of maximum health. Health cycling champions will obviously like this. And yeah, 10% of damage dealt is gained as maximum health. Okay, and ending this pair. Now the recipe is going to change it to Aegis and Giant Spelt. Every 5 seconds, I'm like, 30, 50, 3. Every 4 seconds instead of 5 seconds, it's now going to deal 3% plus 8 to 15 base. Am I tweaking or is this item just dead, honestly? Yeah, I mean, this item was broken, but yeah. Warmock's armor. 2 Giant Spelt, 1 Crystalline Bracer, and it's going to have no movement speed at all, right? And if you have at least 2,000 bonus health, it's now going to trigger. This value was a lot smaller, but now they want to emphasize Warmocks to be a later stage item, which is fair enough for teams that have a lot of poke. For example, if you're playing against a team with a lot of poke as an ADC, usually want to go Bloodthirster because they want to regen your HP instead of going into base and losing tempo. Warmock's armor will function in this way because if you're playing against no poke, the odds that you're going to need Warmocks is going to drop significantly, right? Therefore, the regeneration that is going to change uh, in a bit. Basically, no movement speed, right? And you regen 3%. Uh, Wait, in the last 6 seconds? Yeah, in the last 8 seconds, basically. Following runes have been removed, so these are in the same spot. It's going to be Ghost Borrows, Zombie Ward, Eyeball Collection, and Nullifying Orb is also going to be removed. Deep Ward, one of my favorites. Stealth wards placed in the enemy jungle are considered deep, and after level 11, stealth wards placed in the river are considered deep as well. Deep wards gain 1 extra health, and plus 30 to 45 second duration. Plus 30 to 120 for yellow trinket stealth. I apologize. Stealth wards. Sixth Sense automatically ping and track unseen wards within 900 units. After level 11, Sixth Sense will also reveal the ward for 10 seconds. Basically a red trinket, but has a huge cooldown. 300-second cooldown for melee and 360 for ranged champions because they're a lot safer in theory, right? Grizzly Mementos for each champion takedown gain 4 trinket ability haste. Big fan of this. I think the most popular will be Deep Warding, essentially, especially for sports. So yeah, looking forward for this. And one of the biggest changes, Axiom Arcanist. A lot of champions will use this. I can think of a lot of AP mid mages that can do this. Kartus, Ari, not Lux. Lux will not be one of those changes, I believe. Unless you want to amplify your damage, because the cooldown will always be low. It's a possibility, but sometimes people overkill Axiom Arcanist. Will probably overkill Axiom Arcanist and Ultimate Hunter and Lux. But if it emphasizes damage, then yeah, I mean, sure, it can be taken into consideration. And now take downs on enemy champions refund 70% of your ultimate ability's current remaining cooldown. This will be heavily popular. Champions like Kennen will dig this a lot, for example. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those changes that I believe that will have to be tweaked. And then we will have minutes drop rotations and stuff that we don't care about. Upcoming skin lines, this one is really badass. I love it. If you guys haven't seen the video, go ahead and see it. Just to make a really quick TLDR for those guys that don't really want to view everything, okay? Basically, this is going to be the map change. Atakhan will be a new buff. Basically, there will be 2 bonus effects and 2 spawning points, depending on where there's more action, and 2 effects depending on how many kills you have, or if you don't have kills at all, or very low action. Okay. Nexus turrets will now respawn 3 minutes after you have taken them down. Very small change because most games will end by then. Feats of Strength, basically you have to get 3 bonuses instead of first blood and first turret. You have to get first blood, first turret. You have to get 2 out of 3 to get your boots upgraded to tier 2, and then you can buy your tier 3 upgrades. Yeah, basically movement speed will be fucking broken. Teleport is now going to be different. It's not going to be an target unstoppable dash, okay? And it's going to have less cooldown in the early game. Basically, movement speed is going to be fucking broken and tempo as well. Lane minions, basically, slow pushes in the early game will be less frequent, less raids in the laning phase, and more movement around the map. Emphasizes more snowballing as well. and split pushing in later stages because of turret fortification, which emphasizes Irelia, for example, because, yeah, 50% for split pushers is going to be fucking broken, per se, right? So, yeah. Miscellaneous rules, XP range is going to be increased. Yeah, small stuff that really doesn't matter. Eat damage, basically, turrets are going to deal more damage, and you have to be away from the turret and not taking aggro for longer in case you want to reset the damage, and therefore the damage fortification, emphasizing lane swaps as well whenever necessary, especially for competitive. And solo queue as well. It should be taken in solo queue. Champion abilities no longer ignores, no one cares. Swift lane, no one cares. Ashe, early game, worse. Level 9 onwards, a lot more damage being added because of bonus AD. Kalista, still garbage. Passive feels better. Twitch, no one cares. Still garbage. Varus will run out of mana a lot quicker. Blood Letter's Curse. Champions like Mordekaiser, Gwen, Cassiopeia sometimes will want to utilize this item basically as a magic penetration shredding stuff. Are still whatever. It's going to be better for HP stacking champions a lot better in their own kit instead of itemization. And then in Despair, yeah, the item is being fucking gutted. Warmogs will no longer give movement speed, will only be done in later stages of the game in case you're against poking compositions. Runes, Ghost Spore, Zombie Ward, Eyeball Collection, Livifying Orb, basically these are being removed. Deport is really good, basically you get more duration, Sixth Sense, more duration, and it's one more auto, it's like a control ward, you have to auto it 4 times. Sixth Sense detects and then acts like a red trinket but it has a huge cooldown. And Grisly Mementos, basically snowballing. You gain ability haste in your trinket for the takedowns. Axiom Arcanist is one of the most broken additions that we'll have, and I believe they will be tweaked. So this is going to be the first patch of the new season, the first patch of 25.Season 1.1. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot, okay? But it's going to be, these are going to be the changes. There are not that much of changes, but macro-wise, we'll have more snowball, less rates in the early game, more rotations due to waves being killed a lot quicker because of mini changes, and basically Atakhan is fucking broken. You have a revive in Atakhan in case the game has low action and in case you get the buff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Have a great first patch of the season. A lot of tweaks are going to be on the way for sure, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.